Life is full of choices. Whether it's where to go, what to eat, or how to just have fun and relax. So join us as we discover all about loving life.
Welcome to this episode of Loving Life. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, right downtown in front of the North Carolina Museum of History. This whole show is going to be about history. It's going to be about one of the greatest things that we have, the United States of America. I love this country. I love our freedoms. I love our liberties. I love what we have. So I want you to spend the day with me. We're going to be talking to some incredible people about America, what we have, and what we have to lose if we're not careful. Don't change your channel. Stay right where you're at. We're going to have a blast today looking at America.
Been in a car wreck? Perhaps just now you realize you're hurting in places you never hurt before. Muscle aches, stiffness in joints. Can't find an MD who will take you because you've been in a car accident? Look no further. Dr. Wes Johnson is familiar with car accident injuries and is able to help you. First Choice Family Healthcare will even accept a third-party lien and wait to be paid. Your car's being repaired, so should you. Call First Choice right now at 954-0050 to get back on the road to recovery. Life. It's not as easy as it used to be. There's stress at every turn. And when you think that your bed would be a safe haven, you can't sleep. When you can't sleep, it leads to other problems in the body. Dr. Tim Weir, author of You're Not Crazy, An Overcomer's Guide to Fibromyalgia, has put together a formula just for you. He's combined magnesium, vitamin D, potassium, and some other minerals that help you relax. Then he went one step further. He added MSM for joint health and stability. Now, those are all good, but what's more important is how do you get them into the body? Pills oftentimes don't dissolve. How about a great lemon raspberry flavored drink? This is a powder that you add water to, and it begins to absorb immediately in the mouth. And you start feeling the changes sooner. Go online to www.relaxformula.com. That's www.relaxformula.com. Just when you thought there was no hope, there is hope.
I have not been able to lay down flat on my back in a year without pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, between a 7 and an 8.
Find out yourself with a consultation and a free test. Now it's your time. Call me at 790-1332.
It feels completely different. That's amazing.
Call 790-1332 to reserve your seat.
You know, we're talking about the Constitution, we're talking about this great place of America, and America is made up of all these states that are all united together. And I'm with somebody who believes in what we're talking about, Dr. Jim Fulghum. Dr. Fulghum?
Tim?
I'm glad you're here with me today.
Thank you.
You're running for?
North Carolina House District 49.
Okay.
That's central North Wake County, brand new district, no incumbent.
Wow.
And it was done in the redistricting last summer. The about 63,000, a third, Republican, Democrat, and Independent. We think it's a winnable district from a Republican standpoint, but I'm running to represent all the people in that district.
Absolutely.
And I really look forward to it.
Now, you're kind of unique in that you're not a lawyer, you're not a politician, you're a physician that practices.
That's correct. I'm a neurosurgeon. I've been in practice for about 35 years in Wake County.
Wow.
Except for a little bit in the Desert Storm when I was drafted. I had a wonderful career, and I'm still practicing a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm planning to retire later this year. My wife's an OB/GYN doctor. She retired a few years ago. And we've been very, very blessed. And I wanted to give back. I've been fortunate to be blessed with good health, and I've been interested in politics all my life.
It's huge. You know, and the reason I bring that up is you have an understanding of what it takes to make payroll or to keep the lights on in an office. You're a businessman and you understand budgets.
Not only that, but I've had a career as a chicken farmer. You may not have known about that,
No.
but I have a chicken farm down in Chatham County,
Really?
and we don't have any chickens right now because the ethanol conversion, the corn business, got us priced out of the business to the point. We like to have some more chickens, about 80,000 chickens, about 20 years.
Wow.
And these are broiler chickens where they go to market. And we've had a wonderful time. It's a wonderful farm. It's a deep river farm, we call it, and we do pickings down there. And so I've been doing the farming business, and that's a hard-edged situation because you just don't make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
And you do have I have a payroll, I have a manager who runs the farm, and we've had to go through regulations, and the state agricultural people have helped us. So I've been lucky to do that, but also managing the practice. I've had various positions in my practices over the years as managing partner and that type of thing. And those things have been very, very sharp learning curve. I was telling you earlier about your background as businessman as well. And neurosurgeons and most physicians have to learn on the job.
Right.
And I've done that.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about earlier, before we even got on the camera, about the Constitution. And you mentioned in the North Carolina Constitution saying some incredible stuff.
Well, it's interesting. I just didn't know this till I began to sit down and read it for comprehension.
Yeah.
Most of us haven't done that. So I forced to because I wanted to not look stupid.
Yeah.
But in Article 1, it mentions the enumerated rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But unique to the North Carolina Constitution, it says also to the fruits of one's labor.
Wow.
And that means that you have the right to the fruits of your labor, not a part of the
Absolutely.
fruits, a little bit of the fruits, or just a portion that the government decides you deserve.
Yeah.
And the libertarian idea of that, in the true sense of libertarian, was to give people freedom of economic movement and economic decision making. And I think that's something that we've lost sight of.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think I've always said that you reward people for doing good and you punish them, they don't get rewarded for doing bad. And it's almost like we've kind of reversed that. If you do good and you prosper, you get punished for that.
Well, the demagoguery, frankly, this is what's going on now with the Buffett rule being discussed. That drives me nuts to people to not understand where that's headed. People paying their fair share. That's always a really neat little soundbite. But if you interpret that to say Buffett's upset because his secretary is not paying the same rate that he is, the low rate of a percentage of the capital gains. He's paying about 15% of it in capital gains, and she's paying maybe 30 or 35% of her salary, state and federal.
Right.
Problem is, you know, if you make $100,000 a year and pay 35% of that versus $10 million a year and pay 35% of that, he's paying a whole lot more money into the system. Now, the system is the government. The government does services for the citizens. Army, Navy, Air Force, streets, trash pickup, and various things that people expect from their government. Why should he pay 100 times more just in dollars?
And get the same service.
Yeah, even if he pays a smaller percentage. So I'm in favor of a flat tax.
Yeah, me too.
5%. You know, if you make $10,000, you pay 5%. If you make $100 million, pay 5%. Even it's still progressive, but the point is the rate means higher income, higher money. Even though I don't go into a store and expect to pay $100 for a loaf of bread because of somebody else is down. 48% of people pay no taxes.
Right.
So how do you talk about rates there?
That's the no fair tax.
Yeah. So that's the no fair, and I think the flat tax is at least reasonable.
Yeah.
And you can talk about other aspects of consumer taxes and VAT taxes they do in Europe, but the funny thing about that, the other taxes don't go away when you start doing consumer taxes either.
Exactly.
So the tax reform is all about trying to look at what we need to run the lean, mean, efficient government.
So you mentioned reform because the whole thing needs to be reformed.
Absolutely.
What scares me, and maybe you can help me address this a little bit because this is my personal fear, is that we start a flat tax and keep the same tax that we've got going so we can keep it going. And that scares me because we're going to keep both of them.
Well, we need to know and decide how much government is healthy for the citizens. I mean, a great example is the educational system. Every time you start talking about maybe cutting back on the amount you spend on education, you get accused of, running grandma off the cliff type rhetoric. That starts very quickly. Starving children, and it's a kind of a brain-dead rhetoric that I don't like to hear because essentially a very good example of the opposite of that is what the community colleges have done for this last biennium in the budget. Community colleges actually have a surplus of $10 million. because they anticipated a 1.5% increase in enrollment, and they got a minus 1% increase in enrollment.
Wow.
So they got $10 million laying around. Now, the community college system is the best deal for educating our citizens right around. And we don't do what we should do with that system. We don't go into the high schools and do vocational training like we should, guiding kids into the right areas of career and interest and skill. And the evaluation there would help. Most of the industries right now I've talked with are hurting because they don't have skilled workers.
Yeah.
We have abysmal and shameful percentage of students graduating from four-year colleges in science, math, and engineering. It's probably 10 or 15%. Most of them are graduating in fluff, what I call fluff areas like social sciences and business and that type of thing, which really doesn't buy you a skill.
Right.
And it is just not the efficient use of resources. So I'd like to see that change.
You love America, don't you?
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so blessed. Military taught me to keep my mouth shut and stand in line and get a short haircut. And I enjoyed serving, some of it anyway. The boredom part, that's the part that gets to you. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
But when the dust starts flying, it's pretty interesting. I've never been shot at until I was in the military. I don't know if you've ever been shot at, but it does change your attitude.
Yeah, it would. It would tend to. I appreciate you being with me today, and we're behind you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Listen, go to his website. We're going to put it right down here. Go to his website, check it out, and start educating yourself on what's really true and what's going on. Stay tuned. We're going to be right back. I'm amazed by people who live in this country, the greatest country in the world in my estimation, the United States of America, but don't know anything about the Constitution of the United States of America, or they don't know anything about the Bill of Rights. And you know what? Some people say, well, I read that when I was in the 4th grade. Well, you live in the United States of America. This is what we live by. It's like saying, you know, I want to be a Christian, but I don't believe the Bible. Well, I don't believe in the Constitution. Well, you live in the wrong country then. You need to find a country where you believe in their Constitution. So what you do is you go online. We're going to put the address of where you go, and you pull this up right on the internet. Here's the Bill of Rights. Here's the Constitution of the United States, and you need to read it. You need to listen to what it's saying, and you need to believe in it, and you need to support it. It's an amazing document, and it's an amazing thing that we live in a country where you have freedoms like you do. And it's this paper here, not this one, but the one that the real Constitution, it's the Constitution that protects that. And as soon as we start violating that Constitution, you're starting to give up rights. Your right to assemble, your right to stand here in the middle of this place and talk about what I'm talking about today. That's my right under the Constitution of the United States. You need to protect that. You need to look for people who are going to protect that for you. People who you elect into office that say, I don't care, come hell or high water, we're going to protect this Constitution of the United States. It's what this country is built on. People say, well, it's not relevant anymore. That's crap. It is relevant. It's how this country was put together. It's how we've survived this many years, and it's how we're going to survive into the future. Go online today, get a copy of this, look it over, read it, understand it, and be proud to be an American. I'm glad you were with me today.
Just when you thought there was no hope, there is hope.
I have not been able to lay down flat on my back in a year without pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, between a 7 and an 8.
Find out yourself with a consultation and a free test. Now it's your time. Call me at 790-1332.
It feels completely different. That's amazing.
Call 790-1332 to reserve your seat.
You know, if there's one thing that I love America. And I love what we have. I love our freedoms. Listen, you have the ability to go anywhere, do anything. You can travel from here and go to another state. You can do anything that you want to, and that's a freedom. And so if there's one thing that we need to protect, it's that freedom. It's that love for America that we all need to go back to. I've caught up with one of my, I tell you what, a year ago, I had this on my to-do list, my goal list, actually it was my prayer list. I said, I'd love to meet this man. I'd love to talk to him, find out what he's really like. I had the chance to do that. And in the next couple of minutes, you're actually going to be able to meet this guy I'm talking about. If I mention his name, you're going to know him right off the bat. But I want you to stay around and listen. It may change your life. I'm here talking with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. You didn't even know that.
I do now.
Herman Cain. Thank you for what you do for all of us.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit just about life, because we're losing our value of it.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your viewpoint on how to love life more.
I think when the founding fathers wrote the Declaration of Independence, and when they said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, they did it in that order for a reason. You can pursue happiness all you want to, as long as you don't tread on somebody else's liberty. You can pursue liberty all you want to, as long as you don't tread on somebody else's life, and that includes the life of the unborn. That is a gift from God that no man should tamper with.
Right, right. So Americans, I think, have lost hope. Is there hope?
There is hope, because there's a God.
Yeah.
There's always hope,
Yeah.
because there is a God. Even in the most hopeless situations,
Yeah.
if God is there, there's always hope. Now, that being said, a lot of people have given up. But you see, God can't help you if you give up.
That's really true.
And so I happen to believe that there's a lot of hope. A lot of people have gotten discouraged and disgusted. But I remind people of when this country first started, it started on the hope of a few who passionately believed in this new nation. It's going to take that same passion by those of us who get it in order to get this country back on the right track. And then when you got the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, I told a young man who called my radio show one night, he was frustrated about what was going on. He said, "What can I do, Mr. Cain, to help?" I said, "Go get the Declaration of Independence." He did. He found life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I said, "Here's what you can do. Keep reading." Because it says, when any form of government becomes destructive of those ideals, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish. We have the right and the responsibility to change things.
We got some choices to make.
We have a lot of choices to make, and that's the good news. We have a lot of choices to make.
God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, there's one thing that I really love, and that's kids. And one thing that I think we need to support more is our kids. And so I'm with John Tedesco today. John, you're running for North Carolina Superintendent of Schools.
Yeah, it's a different role.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's equivalent to what a lot of states. We have about 30 of our states called Secretary of Education. Here it would manage the Department of Education. You would work sort of in the governor's cabinet. We call it a council of state, and we have a cabinet as well. But you're elected to manage that administrative department, work with the state board of education, and really push educational initiatives across the state on behalf of children and teachers.
Absolutely. So if you could sum it up, what are we missing?
Well, I think we're missing a lot. I think over the last several years, we've watched academic outcomes not keep pace as we've transitioned out of an industrial age into a digital age. We've watched more dollars being spent on administrative overhead and on adults and less spent on kids. So we need to transition the way we use our dollars to be more effective in our classrooms. I'll give you an example. In Wake County, over the last couple of years, we've cut over $100 million in the last 2 years. While doing that, we actually put $32 million more into instructional services in the classrooms, added more teachers while other districts across the state were cutting teachers, opened 10 new themed academies for science, STEM, mathematics, vocational programming. We're doing all that while cutting administrative fat without asking the taxpayers for a single dollar more, because we're being smarter about how we run the business.
Yeah. You know, we hear a lot about bullying in school, and it's kind of a sad thing. If you step in, what do you think we should do with that?
Well, there's several national programs right now that are doing some wonderful stuff, and there's a couple initiatives in North Carolina as well. I do think we need to educate more on those issues, whether it's educating our families, our communities, and our children, as well as providing teachers and counselors and administrators the professional development support for anti-bullying programs that we have. And there are some funds available from some federal grants that we can align some of those resources and get them into our local schools better to promote anti-bullying programs.
You know, my show is called Loving Life, and I think that's part of what we're missing is that we're not loving life the way that we used to, and so we don't value the kids and we don't value this and that, and we've got to get back to that. And it sounds like that's your heart.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately my passion is a champion for kids. You know, I grew up in and out of projects my whole life. Had a pastor who got involved in my life. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I moved 32 times in the first 18 years I was with my parents. I was one of these free and reduced lunch children. You know, I dedicated my life to the service of others, working with children's charities like Big Brothers Big Sisters or Harbor House, where I built homeless shelters for 8,000 kids a year. And that's where my heart led me to get involved in education. I was working with a program in North Carolina called Mentoring Children of Prisoners, working with 13,000 kids a year who have a parent incarcerated. And I said, you know, we have this thing backwards. We better fix this on the front end. There's a reason. North Carolina ranks 4th in the nation in suspensions and 4th in the nation in percentage of our state budget spent on incarceration. I'd rather see that we're effective with the $8,500 a year we spend to educate a child than the $35,000 we spend a year to incarcerate a man. All right? If you love your fellow human being, if you care about your fellow human being, you want to provide them opportunities. You want to provide them opportunities for upward social mobility in America so they can be productive, independent citizens who can contribute to one another so we have a healthy society.
You got my vote.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
This is the kind of people we're looking for, people who love life, people who love your kids. Let's back these kind of people.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
We're talking about relaxing, having a relaxed moment. Sometimes I like to just come to a park where it's gorgeous here in Raleigh. The trees are beautiful. There's flowers, everything around. And you just look around and you just look at things. You know, sometimes we get so busy in life we don't look at things. Just look at things and realize that the guy that put this all together, the creator of everything, is creating your life. And guess what you can do? You can just relax in that. It's an awesome time to spend time with you. We get so busy all this time with other people. We got to be with so-and-so or with such and such, or we got to be on the job and we're with our coworkers. Sometimes we got to spend time with the most important person, and that's ourselves. If you don't like spending time with yourself, you can have problems with relationships in other areas too. So learn to love yourself. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if you don't love yourself, it's hard to love your neighbor. So get quiet, get alone, go to a park. Just enjoy yourself. Love yourself. You're a pretty good person to love.
Been in a car wreck? Perhaps just now you realize you're hurting in places you never hurt before. Muscle aches, stiffness in joints. Can't find an MD who will take you because you've been in a car accident? Look no further. Dr. Wes Johnson is familiar with car accident injuries and is able to help you. First Choice Family Healthcare will even accept a third-party lien and wait to be paid. Your car's being repaired, so should you. Call First Choice right now at 954-0050 to get back on the road to recovery. Life. It's not as easy as it used to be. There's stress at every turn. And when you think that your bed would be a safe haven, you can't sleep. When you can't sleep, it leads to other problems in the body. Dr. Tim Weir, author of You're Not Crazy, An Overcomer's Guide to Fibromyalgia, has put together a formula just for you. He's combined magnesium, vitamin D, potassium, and some other minerals that help you relax. Then he went one step further. He added MSM for joint health and stability. Now, those are all good, but what's more important is how do you get them into the body? Pills oftentimes don't dissolve. How about a great lemon raspberry flavored drink? This is a powder that you add water to, and it begins to absorb immediately in the mouth. and you start feeling the changes sooner. Go online to www.relaxformula.com. That's www.relaxformula.com. Just when you thought there was no hope, there is hope.
I have not been able to lay down flat on my back in a year without pain. On a scale of 1 to 10, between a 7 and an 8.
Find out yourself with a consultation and a free test. Now it's your time. Call me at 790-1332.
It feels completely different. That's amazing.
Call 790-1332 to reserve your seat.
You're here.
You didn't know I was also a preacher, did you?
It's scary.
You know not to ask a preacher a question. Baptist preacher, that.
Oh my God, that's worse. Bless you. Hey, welcome to this episode of Loving Life. I'm here in Raleigh, North Carolina, right downtown in front of the Museum of Natural North Carolina Museum of History. Give it here.